All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that literally affects anyone collecting data in the modern age. We are unpacking Chapter 2, Digital Research Ethics, Data Protection, and Responsible AI Use. Now, I know, when you hear the word ethics, you probably groan a little bit, right? You're picturing endless compliance checklists, bureaucratic red tape, and forms that just take forever to fill out. But today, we're going to completely flip that script. We're transforming digital ethics from a restrictive, annoying compliance burden into a highly empowering tool for your research integrity. Because honestly, when you truly understand the digital landscape, you don't just protect your participants, you dramatically elevate the credibility of your entire project.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. First up, the hidden digital pipeline. Second, 3 core ethical principles. Third, AI and academic integrity. And finally, drafting your consent form.
Section 1. The hidden digital pipeline.
For decades, researchers thought of data security in extremely physical terms, mostly, locking a piece of paper in a heavy metal filing cabinet where it just stays static. But that mindset, it's dangerously obsolete today. In modern digital research, your data is constantly traveling through complex, borderless channels. Just think about it for a second. You use a cloud-based survey platform, and suddenly those responses might be stored on servers in an entirely different country. You conduct a quick interview over a video call, and you might accidentally capture the participant's home environment or their family members in the background. Or, let's say you use an AI transcription service to speed up your work. Well, without you even realizing it, that company might be retaining the uploaded audio on its own servers to train its future models. The data isn't static anymore, it is very much on a journey.
And this brilliantly illustrates a key point from Eaton in 2022. Eaton points out that ethical practice just cannot be reduced to a single signature anymore. Why? Well, because the actual digital pipeline that a participant's data travels through has fundamentally become a core part of what informed consent actually has to cover. If someone gives you their data, but neither of you knows where it ultimately ends up, that signature is practically useless. We literally have to map the journey.
Moving right along to Section 2, 3 core ethical principles.
So, how do we actually protect our participants in a world where data travels so far and so incredibly fast? Think of these next concepts as your absolute best weapons against those modern pipeline risks. The first principle is genuinely informed consent. Notice that word genuinely. It is no longer enough to just tell someone, hey, you're being recorded. As we just saw with the digital pipeline, promising basic confidentiality on a form is ethically incomplete if you aren't explicitly mapping out that digital pathway. Genuinely informed consent means the participant understands exactly where their data lives, who has access to it, how long it's going to be kept before it's deleted, and, critically, whether any AI tool is going to process it. If you're using an AI transcriber, they absolutely need to know that up front.
Building on that, we have our next 2 anchoring principles: data minimization and security, and responsible AI use. Let's rapidly run through these. For data minimization, the rule is simple. Collect only what is absolutely essential for your research question. Don't go gathering a bunch of extra demographic data just for the sake of it. Then, store it securely using strong passwords or encryption. And here's a massive pro tip right from the source text: anonymize or pseudonymize your identifiers as early in the pipeline as possible. Ideally, do this right at the point of transcription rather than waiting until you're about to publish. Then, for responsible AI use, transparency is everything. Be crystal clear about any AI assistance you use, whether that's for coding suggestions or just polishing up your writing. And most importantly, you have to critically verify AI outputs. Uncritical acceptance of AI-generated text or data analysis is basically a fast track to compromising both your participants' safety and your own research integrity.
Section 3. AI and academic integrity. Which brings us to the giant elephant in the modern research room: generative AI. The sudden explosion of tools like ChatGPT has completely disrupted our traditional notions of academic integrity. So, what does this all mean? I want to pose this question to you. Is AI just a plagiarism exception? Should we really just take our 20-year-old plagiarism rulebooks, bolt on a tiny paragraph at the very end saying, oh yeah, and don't use AI, and call it a day?
According to Eaton, the answer is a resounding no. Academic integrity frameworks have to be explicitly rebuilt entirely around the presence of AI in scholarly work. We simply cannot treat it as a bolted-on exception. It's a live, constantly evolving debate. Right now, to be honest, a lot of institutional policies are still frantically trying to catch up to this reality. And because they're lagging behind, this massive burden of individual judgment is placed right on your shoulders as researchers and instructors. You have to be the one setting the ethical standard. Let's look at how we actually do that. The outdated paradigm? That relied on outright prohibition, just banning it entirely, treating it as a plagiarism exception which, let's face it, just led to hidden, secretive usage. But the modern operational rule for this course is a disclosure-based approach. Any use of AI, whether it's for searching, transcribing, analyzing, or drafting, must be explicitly acknowledged in your methods section. You have to distinguish the AI-assisted steps from your own analytical heavy lifting. And this perfectly aligns with the National Higher Education Guidelines from Kemendik-Woodristic, which smartly frames responsible AI adoption not as a ban, but as a critical matter of transparency and accountability.
Section 4. Drafting your consent form.
Okay, let's move from theory into practice and see how this actually builds into an actionable workflow. Here is the first half of a brisk 8-step technical tutorial to craft a really robust digital consent form. Step 1. Open up a document and create a clear heading, like Digital Informed Consent, right along with your research title. Step 2. Write your purpose statement. In just 2 or 3 sentences, explain what the study investigates and why the participants' input actually matters. Keep it brief, right? Step 3. Specify the exact data collection method. Is it a survey link, a recorded interview? State the digital channel explicitly. Step 4. Add your data storage and access clause. This is where you name the specific platforms and mention the password protections. Tell them exactly who is going to have access to that spreadsheet or server.
Moving right along to the final 4 steps. Step 5, add an AI disclosure clause. If an AI transcription service is going to process their data, name the tool. Explain its data retention policy in simple language. Step 6, add a withdrawal clause. Remind them they can back out at any point without penalty, and explain exactly how they can request to have their data deleted. Step 7 is inserting the actual consent mechanism itself, like a digital checkbox on a survey form or a clear signature line for a PDF. And finally, Step 8, proofread for plain language. So the absolute crucial point here is this. You must replace any remaining legal or technical jargon with wording that an average respondent can understand in under 2 minutes. Stripping out that heavy, intimidating legal language is what actually empowers the participant to give genuinely informed consent. Look, if they can't understand it, it's not informed, period.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I really want to leave you with a challenge. Go look at the research materials you're using right now and ask yourself, is your current consent form truly protecting your participants along that entire digital pipeline, or are you just checking an outdated box? Remember, digital ethics isn't a hurdle to jump over, it is the absolute foundation of modern research integrity. So take these principles, apply that 8-step workflow, and upgrade your research ethics today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.